Done a hell of a lot this season.
Disappointed, of course. We just couldn't get the heights of the last few months football we played. Very disappointing. Couldn't find a solution to their very compact block and good defence.
Right, there we are then, Man United in crisis.
You know something, Sheffield United have to get a lot of credit for the way they played, you know, especially the plight they find themselves in. And Man United, you just can't keep doing that. You can't keep going a goal down and hoping that someone's going to bring it round, maybe off the bench or whatever. At some stage, a team's they're going to get what they deserve. And I thought they deserved that, Sheffield United. You know, I know he's resting some players, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I just feel that it's something, their start is just not good enough, Man United, in games. They have to address that. Yeah,
we've seen that a lot this season. Yeah. But like you said, with Sheffield United, we talked about those small margins that they operate in, and they went in their favour last night against Manchester United. But they were on such a good run, Manchester United, going into this game. Is it inevitable that there's going to be a blip, or is this an avoidable one, do you think?
I think for a team like Man United, it should have been avoidable, but they play on the counter-attack. And like Dad just said, like, it's not going to happen all the time where you can go goals behind and claw back 21 plus points. I think at some point, what happened last night is going to happen. And normally I would have said it would have happened against the teams at the top half of the table, but I thought Sheffield United defended well when they had to. They nullified their counter-attack as well, which is one of United's key things, and that did enough for them to win the game over.
So what we're sort of looking at, knowing that everybody's going to have some of these performances, some of these results throughout the course of the season, is whether or not this represents something bigger for Manchester United. Because you said in your column for The Athletic, in your match report for The Athletic, very good at putting out fires, not so good at smelling the smoke.
Yes, it's this thing of when the danger is there and clear, Manchester United can just about sort it out. They've got some very good centre-backs, and they've got some very good defenders who are good at the one-on-one action of defending, of I'm going to stop you getting past me. The defence doesn't quite mesh and can play great to the sum of their parts, which is why every now and again they will concede those really early goals. They've also got the great knockout punch of the counter-attacks, which is why United have, I think it's 24 points from losing positions. Yes. And if you look at the all-time list of teams from losing positions, United are at the halfway stage, like top 20 already, which is absurd. And the fact that all of those comeback wins are away from home, which is that thing of when you're away from home, teams do try and play it onto you a bit more, and then United have more space to play on top. So it's this thing of at home, there is the expectation on Manchester United to have possession. They had a lot of possession against Sheffield United, and I think Sheffield United just outfought them. There was a naivety to Manchester United last night where they tried for 15 minutes and they put in some really interesting attacks. There were some new attacks that I saw there. There was one moment where Aaron Wan-Bissaka did an underlapping run on Mason Greenwood, which he doesn't typically do, which I'm like, oh, interesting. But then after 15 minutes, when the goal didn't happen, all those ideas sort of went out the window. And then after Sheffield United got a goal ahead, I didn't really see what Manchester United were trying to do.
When I was watching the game, as I'm watching the game, and because of the start that Man United do have, and it's very slow, for me, Cavani, I'd start Cavani. I think he's only started 4 games. And I think that he's at the stage now where he's ready to go. His movement and what he can do, especially to a Sheffield United side that they were pretty good last night. They were quite resolute. You need the experience of the movement. So then you get that goal out of nowhere, like he did against Southampton. He made those 2 goals purely out of his movement and his knowledge. And I believe that he should be starting games, and then you take him off. Rather than you start as slowly as you want, because you're looking at some of the positions that Martial was taking up again last night, and there's not enough happening in the box, even if they do get it in there, Carl, that they're going to nick that goal and then they can start getting into their stride.
There were 2 really interesting moments. So there was one moment in the second half from Anthony Martial when he was playing as the number 9 leading the line, where in the Man U match it sort of tries a curled left-footed ball into it, and sort of Martial gets it and he tries to do something, it doesn't work, and the ball gets recycled, it goes back to Matic, and Matic is very much, I'm going to try this again now, gives it to Martial, and Martial tries a spin move, which last season would have worked. Sort of, he used to be really good at that, his hold-up play was really good, but he's in such a funk, and his form isn't in the way it used to be. And also what's really interesting is he's not getting the benefit of the doubt from referees that he used to do. So Martial is quite good ball carrying, very good dribbler, and he's also, even though he's got a problem with sort of every now and again he runs down a corridor, he tends to know how to fall down properly to get the foul, so it's not that bad. Whereas what you're seeing from Martial now is he's falling down and he's not getting the referee's whistle, and he's also complaining about that rather than sort of continuing to play football. Moment, I think it was the 66th minute, Cavani comes on, very first 60 seconds. Pogba's on the ball on the right-hand side. Cavani runs near post. Pogba plays the ball over. Cavani gets a touch, nearly goes in. And you go, that's the difference between an experienced striker that knows number 9 player, knows how to move, and a striker and a forward in Martial who's just in a really bad run of form. I think Martial, if he is going to play for Manchester United, he should either play on the left-hand side, which causes problems as to where Marcus Rashford plays, or he should either play in a 2 next to Marcus Rashford, because right now the finishing ability that he used to have isn't there. He always had some weaknesses with his positioning, and now he's also not going to benefit of that. So it's really gone against him.
It's not just Martial as well, because none of the 3 forwards made any chances in the game last night. None of them created much or created anything for each other.
I think that has to go down to credit to Sheffield United. I think they defended so well, and they lacked all the spaces in and around the box. They made it difficult to create space, and that's where you go back to getting the ball wide and having somebody like Cavani on the pitch, because then he will cause problems in a box that maybe the ball might drop down in a space because he's dragged the defender out of position just by going to the near post. So I think all credit for the lack of chances has to go to the way Sheffield United defended last night.
I think Man United have got the kind of players as well in the midfield where they should be playing it through lines. You know, they should be trying to drag people out, because the way Sheffield are going to defend, and you give them credit, people say, they just stay there and that's blocking things, but Jagielka's 38. He didn't get moved around nowhere near enough.
So in the second half, Manchester United did 14 crosses from open play, and Phil Jagielka, 38-year-old centre-back, he knows how to defend crosses. If there's, he might not be the defender he used to be 10, 15 years ago, but he knows how to defend crosses. And there's a moment where surely partway through the second half, you keep trying these crosses and going, maybe we should try something else. Which was quite difficult. It's quite interesting seeing how much more of the ball Aaron Wan-Bissaka was getting at Sheffield United. Wan-Bissaka's been, onlookers have said he's build-up players and very, very good. And there were 2 or 3 times where he was in open space and you could see Manchester United players try to avoid him because they didn't quite trust him with the ball. But he delivered a lot of crosses in.
He did.
And some of them were good, of good quality. But it's the issue of when you're against a back 3 and one of them knows exactly how to defend crosses because they've been doing it up and down English football for more than 10 years, you need to be cuter. You need to do something else.
There was a chance, I think, the ball's come over the top and it went to Bruno, and Bruno's kind of hooked it back.
Yes.
If that's Cavani, where Martial is, that's a goal because he's already heading to the front post. So he anticipates that. Whereas I think Martial didn't. He kind of waited to see where the ball was going first and then moved. So I think there was chances to win the crosses. I just think in personnel, it should have been a bit different.
The execution was just a little bit off. The confidence was a little bit off. And then you could see, especially after the second goal, they just sort of forgot their process.
And the same with the left-hand side. Luke Shaw, I know that he's been brilliant. He's played a lot of games. And I was going to ask you as well, Carl, in a minute, about do you think he had an eye on Arsenal and maybe underestimated what Sheffield United would have brought, but there wasn't nowhere near enough from the left-hand side, considering what Luke Shaw's given them at the moment. And then he brings him on for 8 minutes. If you're going to rest people, then rest them. But like, you're looking at Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think that Sheffield, I didn't think that they were too fussed about him getting it because that was their plan as well, Kels, because they know about his delivery may not be as good as what Luke Shaw is, and they would take a chance on him getting more of the play than it actually being on the other side. But in reality, the other side was just as ineffective, but at least he was trying, Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, you mentioned the match against Arsenal. That's the next one up for Manchester United. Do you think there was an element of the FA Cup game against Liverpool, the game against Arsenal coming up, Sheffield United bottom of the table, only 1 win in the league so far, being sandwiched in the middle of that and thinking, maybe from the manager, maybe from the players, and maybe even subconsciously, but there's an element of, that's not our trickiest fixture?
I think so. I think there is. This is Manchester United have a deep squad, and I'm not sure if I should describe it as strength in depth or just depth in depth. They've been very fortunate with injuries. They're very, very good in their COVID-19 protocols. So if you look comparatively, Manchester United haven't had as much cases and whatnot. their player care is very good at Manchester United, and there's a lot of bodies there, and there's a lot of players there that are able to play football. Whether or not they're able to play football to the level Manchester United need them to be a top 4 team or to be in a tight race, bit more confusing. So Alex Telles is a different kind of left back to Luke Shaw. So Luke Shaw is very much involved in the build-up play. Yeah, sort of United's passing motions very much goes to Maguire, then to Luke Shaw, then Luke Shaw will go up, and then he has a good relationship with Marcus Rashford, and they have a connection, and they understand what each other are doing. Alex Telles is a bit more independent. So I'm sure if you watch on television or Old Trafford, every now and then you can hear Harry Maguire go, "You have to run it." Or you can hear Marcus Rashford, especially when Rashford on the left, giving him instruction. The really interesting thing is if you look for the second goal, there's a moment just before the ball gets to the Matic, before